The sandwich game is a card game for 2 to 5 players. The game comes in a little box that includes instructions and the playing cards. The playing cards consist of plate cards, bid cards, bread cards, sandwich ingredient cards, and napkins. The goal of this game is to get more points than your opponents by eating sandwiches. The sandwiches are made communally by all the players. Once a sandwich is made, all players can bid on the sandwich to see who eats it. There are 2 phases of the sandwich game. The first phase is building a sandwich. During this phase, all players work together to create sandwiches. Once a sandwich is built, the game enters the bidding phase, where players try to either eat the sandwich or force their opponent to eat the sandwich. The sandwich game is easy to set up. First, place the plate cards in the middle of the table. Use 1 less plate card than the number of people playing. If only 2 people are playing, use 2 plate cards. Set aside the unused plate cards. They won't be used in this game. Next, deal out 7 cards to each player. Place the rest of the deck next to one of the plate cards. This will be the draw pile. Leave a space on the table for a discard pile. We'll then start the game in the building sandwiches phase. That's when the fun begins. The first player has 2 options. They can either discard a card, or they can place a bread card on an empty plate to start a new sandwich. They then return their hand to 7 cards. After that, players can discard, start new sandwiches, or add a cheese, extras, or meat card to an existing sandwich. Chris decides to start a new sandwich. On Olga's turn, she adds delicious bacon to the bagel sandwich. When adding a non-bread card to a sandwich, the player draws 2 cards, keeps 1, and discards the other. Chris wants that bacon, so he throws down a donut to finish the sandwich. He returns his hand to 7 cards, and they start the bidding phase for this glorious sandwich. Once a sandwich has been completed, the game enters the bidding phase to determine which player will eat the sandwich. You want to eat the sandwiches that give you the most points, or force your opponents to eat sandwiches that are worth negative points. To determine the point value of the sandwich, just add the points for each card in the sandwich. For example, the sandwich shown here is worth 10 points. Bidding starts with the player that completed the sandwich. When it's your turn to bid, you can place a single card face down in front of any player, including yourself. No one should look at these bid cards until bidding is finished. If you do not want to place a bid, you can opt out. Once you opt out, you can no longer place bids for this sandwich. Bidding ends when only 1 player has not opted out. The last player may place 1 final bid before determining who eats the sandwich. Once bidding has finished, each player turns over their bid card to determine their bid score. Add up the values of all bid cards that were placed in front of them. Ignore any non-bid cards that were placed in front of a player. In this example, Chris has a bid score of 1. Remember that we are ignoring the tofu card. Olga has a bid score of 2. So Olga wins the glory of eating this sandwich. Place all cards played during the bid phase and the cards from the sandwich that was eaten into the discard pile. Play returns to the building sandwich phase, starting with the player who ate this sandwich. Napkin cards are special. They can be played at any time during the game as an interruption. Napkins can even interrupt other napkins, resolving the most recently played napkin first. All napkins need to be resolved. Some resolve immediately, others are resolved later during play. To demonstrate resolving multiple napkins, let's look at the following example. Chris has a napkin that allows him to switch hands with any player. He doesn't like his hand, so he wants to switch with Olga. Olga has a few cards that she doesn't want to give to Chris, so she interrupts his napkin with one of her napkins, to trade 2 cards with any player. Since Olga's napkin was played most recent, it is resolved first. She picks the best 2 cards from her hand to trade with Chris. Chris picks 2 cards from his hand and they trade. This resolves the top napkin, so we discard it. The second napkin now needs to be resolved before the game continues. Chris and Olga switch hands. This resolves the napkin, so we discard it and continue the game. Here is an example of a napkin that isn't resolved immediately. On Olga's turn, she plays the napkin that forces Chris to opt out of bidding. She then completes the sandwich, creating a negative 7-point sandwich. Olga returns her hand to 7 cards, then starts bidding by placing a bid card on Chris. Chris must opt out of bidding to resolve this napkin. Olga decides she doesn't need to place any more bids. The bids are counted, and Chris is forced to eat this disgusting sandwich. That about covers the game. The rules go into more detail if you have any questions. We hope you enjoy playing the game and have fun eating your way to victory!